Off beer. The forest was silent, a silence sharp as glass. Jason, the newborn vampire, smelled danger in the air, a metallic scent mixed with the sweet perfume of Linda, the Native American woman with eyes like the night sky. She was in danger, he knew, but he didn't know who threatened her. Howling wolves in the distance? Or something worse. A shadow moved between the trees, too fast to be human. Jason braced himself for attack, the thrum of his vampire heart echoing in his ears, a chilling question cutting through him. Would he save her in time? The battle between humans, werewolves, and vampires was far from over, and the love between Jason and Linda was about to be tested by fire and blood. The moon, a silver disk in the dark sky, cast long, sinuous shadows across the forest. The tall, imposing trees seemed to whisper ancient secrets, secrets of bloody wars and impossible loves. Jason, his senses sharpened by his recent transformation, felt the air heavy, charged with fear and adrenaline. Linda's perfume, sweet and mysterious as wildflower honey, mingled with the metallic scent of blood, a scent that both called to him and terrified him. He found her in a clearing, shrouded in menacing shadows. Linda, with hair as black as night and eyes that reflected the moonlight like distant stars, seemed fragile, but there was an undeniable strength in her posture, an ancestral power pulsing beneath her skin. Her fingers lightly touched a dark stone amulet hanging from a leather cord worn by time. This amulet, a secret guarded for generations, was the key to the werewolf power coursing through her veins, a power she didn't yet fully control, but one that promised to be devastating. Suddenly, a howl cut through the silence. It wasn't the usual howl of the forest wolves. This one was deep, guttural, filled with a soul-chilling rage. It was the howl of the alpha, the pack leader, and this howl carried a specific threat. It was for Linda. A shiver ran down Jason's spine. He was still a novice vampire, inexperienced in the ways of darkness, but the animal instinct forced upon him warned him. Imminent danger. It wasn't just the wolves threatening her. Something else, something dark and powerful, lurked in the forest shadows. Something he couldn't identify but that inspired a deep fear, a fear entirely unknown to him before his transformation. He moved like a shadow, silent and swift, approaching Linda unseen. He watched her as she murmured words in an ancient tongue, a language that echoed the whisper of the trees and the howl of the wolves. The words seemed like an incantation, a desperate attempt to control the power that belonged to her, a power that both frightened and fascinated her. The dark stone around her neck pulsed with a faint, almost imperceptible light. It was as if the amulet was reacting to something nearby, something powerful and malevolent. A struggle raged within Linda, a battle between fear and the ancestral power that connected her to the strength of the wolves. Then, from the darkness, emerged an imposing figure. A tall, thin man with eyes that gleamed with a cold, cruel light. He wasn't a werewolf, nor a human. He was a vampire. But unlike Jason, this vampire was ancient, powerful, and exuded an aura of death and suffering. His movements were slow, deliberate, as if he reveled in instilling fear in the hearts of others. He was Jason's vampire master, the Lord of Darkness to whom he owed blind obedience. The master vampire smiled, a cruel, soulless smile. He looked at Linda with a gaze that was a mixture of desire and cruelty. Jason's eyes narrowed. This wasn't a random attack. It was a hunt. The target was Linda, and her ancestral power was the prize. Jason wrestled with his duty to his master and the burgeoning love he felt for Linda. What should he do? Defend Linda, even if it meant confronting his own master, or obey and watch as Linda became another victim. His recent transformation had taught him that loyalty could be a trap, a deadly snare binding him to an ever-deepening darkness. The love for Linda, the new, intoxicating, and terrifying feeling, began to balance the darkness in his heart, and he knew he had to choose a side. The battle was just beginning, and the battlefield was Jason's own heart. The fight for Linda's love was about to begin, a bloody fight where danger could be found in the fangs of vampires, the claws of werewolves, or in Jason's own broken heart. The moon, a silver eye in the black sky, witnessed the scene. Linda trembled, not only from the night's chill, but from the power bubbling inside her, an ancestral, wild power, the power of the wolves that had slept in her genes for generations. The amulet around her neck, a dark stone as smooth as night, pulsed with a faint, almost imperceptible light. But Jason saw it. He saw her struggle against this force, an inner battle between fear and the innate power that was hers. He felt the thrum of his own vampire blood echoing in his ears, a frantic rhythm that mixed with fear and growing admiration for Linda. The alpha's howl echoed again, closer this time, a death knell that sliced through the forest's quiet like a sharp blade. Wolves howled in response, a sinister chorus announcing imminent danger. But the danger didn't come only from the pack, it was something bigger, more sinister. It was Jason's master, the ancient vampire, emerging from the shadows like a nightmare figure. He was tall, imposing, with eyes that gleamed with an unnatural light, a cold, empty light that seemed to absorb the moonlight itself. His smile was a deep cut, devoid of any warmth, only cruelty and insatiable thirst. He approached slowly, with measured steps, as if he reveled in the fear emanating from Linda. It was an ancestral fear, a fear linked to the old magic of her ancestors, a fear that Jason felt echoing in his own vampire blood. Jason felt the conflict tearing at his soul. Obedience to his master was a demand, an order that echoed in his newly transformed bones. But his heart, a heart he believed to be petrified, beat strongly for Linda, a new, intense, terrifying, and intoxicating feeling. It was a love that placed him at a deadly crossroads. On one side, loyalty and obedience that bound him to a heartless, loveless vampire existence. On the other, the explosive passion that united him with the Native American woman with eyes like the night, the woman who awakened an unimaginable ancestral power. The master vampire stopped a few steps from Linda, his eyes fixed on the amulet around her neck. Jason realized, with a deadly chill in his stomach, what was at stake. The amulet, the key to the ancestral power of the wolves, was the target of this hunt. It wasn't Linda's life that was at stake, it was the power in her hands, a power that could shift the balance between humans, werewolves, and vampires. An ancient war, a war for supremacy, whose stage was that moonlit clearing. Linda looked up at the master vampire, her eyes courageous, despite the terror that surely overwhelmed her. She didn't recoil, didn't submit. The ancestral strength within her seemed to grow, to strengthen, in response to the ancient vampire's imposing presence. It was a fight between darkness and ancestral light, a battle between the force of nature and the corruption of immortality. Jason knew he had to act. But how? He was a newly created vampire, still weak, still hesitant. Confronting his master was suicide, but leaving Linda at the mercy of that monstrous creature was unthinkable. The love he felt for her, a love he never imagined experiencing, was stronger than any fear. An even stronger howl shattered the silence, this one of a different force, of an even more ancestral power. Linda's eyes blazed, the stone around her neck now pulsing with a bright blue-green light. Jason saw the power of the wolves taking shape within her, an unimaginable power. The war was declared, and Jason, torn between obedience and love, was in the midst of a conflict that would forever change his destiny and the destiny of the world around him. The battle for Linda's soul and for Jason's own soul was just beginning. The forest held its breath. The air, previously charged with tension, now vibrated with almost palpable energy. Linda, her eyes glittering with a strangely green light, raised her hand, and the amulet around her neck shone brightly, projecting a green aura that enveloped her like a magical shield. She was no longer the fragile Native American woman, the frightened young woman. She was the heiress of an ancestral power, the strength of the wolves flowing in her veins, in her eyes. It was the force of nature, wild and untamed. The master vampire, the imposing and shadowy being, smiled, a cruel smile that didn't reach his empty eyes. He hadn't expected this. Linda's transformation was unexpected, swift, but his arrogance was greater than his surprise. He advanced, his hands outstretched, his thin, long fingers like claws, seeking to drain the life force from the young Native American woman. The battle began, a macabre dance between ancient darkness and the ancestral strength of the wolves. Jason, torn between loyalty to his master and love for Linda, felt his own vampire nature clash with the emergence of a human feeling, something he thought impossible. The weight of the decision was immense, overwhelming. He watched, terrified and fascinated at the same time, by Linda's transformation. The strength emanating from her was impressive. It was as if the wolves of the forest themselves were fighting through her. Linda, despite the terror and inexperience, faced the vampire with surprising power. A wild, primal roar escaped her lips, a sound that echoed the strength of her ancestors. She advanced, not with the fragility of a defenseless young woman, but with the fury and agility of a wild wolf. The wolves, as if sensing the call of their ancestor, emerged from the forest shadows, their eyes gleaming with a menacing light, their howls piercing the soul. The fight was frenetic. Linda, driven by ancestral force, fought with impressive skill. Dodging the vampire's attacks with supernatural speed, she used the power of the wolves not only to defend herself but to attack. Sharp claws and teeth tore through the air in a whirlwind of primal fury. The master vampire, despite his supernatural strength, was taken by surprise. He hadn't expected such resistance. Jason watched the scene, his heart in conflict. With each blow Linda landed, his heart rejoiced. But the fear of defying his master paralyzed him. He saw the fight not just as a battle between two powerful beings, but as a fight for the survival of the love that blossomed in his heart, a love that seemed even stronger in the face of the death that surrounded him. Suddenly, a more powerful attack from the vampire managed to hit Linda. She stumbled but didn't fall. Her gaze, despite the pain, remained firm. The ancestral strength continued to flow through her veins. The sight of Linda wounded, yet determined, triggered something within Jason. He couldn't stand still any longer. With a silent roar, Jason lunged at the master vampire, using his newly acquired strength and rage to attack. The surprise was so great that the vampire, even with his strength, was taken aback. It was the moment. The fight was now double, with Jason defending Linda, his beloved, father and son, vampires, united against the evil that threatened the world. It was a conflict of two forces that represented the very essence of the battle between darkness and light. Linda, with her injuries, found strength within herself, strength to react to the attacks. The ancestral strength of the wolves was growing, taking over her, joining Jason's and the forest wolves' attack. The fight was intense, a whirlwind of fangs, claws, shadows, a bloody spectacle under the impassive gaze of the moon. The battle reached its crucial point. The master vampire, wounded by both vampires, retreated amidst the howls of the wolves. His once unstoppable strength was waning, overwhelmed by the combined force of Jason's love and Linda's ancestral power. The ancestral energy flowed freely through her, becoming an unshakable shield against the darkness. The master vampire, defeated, vanished into the shadows. His aura of power and malice faded into the forest. The danger was contained for now. The moon, a silent witness to that bloody battle full of love, illuminated the clearing, revealing Linda and Jason, wounded but alive. Their eyes met. In each other's gaze, they recognized the love that had survived the battle. Love, stronger than the ancestral power of the wolves, stronger than the dark immortality of the vampires. The love between Jason and Linda had blossomed in the midst of darkness, a beacon of hope in the bloody battle, a love that promised a different future. The battle was over, but their journey of love was just beginning. But before they could embrace, a tremor ran through the earth. It wasn't an ordinary tremor, an earthquake tremor. It was different. It was a deep tremor, coming from the bowels of the forest itself. A tremor that made the trees writhe as if they were alive, feeling pain. A horrible scream, a sound that seemed to come from the depths of hell, echoed through the forest. A scream of pain and rage so intense that it cut through the silence with brutal force. From the shadows, a colossal figure arose, a creature so gigantic, so deformed, so horrible, that it made even the master vampire seem small and insignificant. Its eyes gleamed with infernal light, its claws were enormous and sharp as obsidian blades, and its mouth, an open, bloody wound, showed teeth as sharp as knives. It was a nightmare creature, an ancient being, from an era even more distant than the time of the first vampires, a being of immeasurable power, a force of pure and raw nature, something ancient, horrifying, and devastating. A creature far larger, far stronger, far more evil than anything Jason and Linda had faced before. It was as if the forest itself was vomiting its ancestral darkness, its deepest and most implacable malice. The creature opened its mouth, a scream that seemed to tear the very fabric of the universe, and pointed to Linda and Jason, two insignificant points before such darkness. And with a cruel and terrifying smile, it advanced on them, the implacable shadow of the forest, the incarnation of primordial fear. The battle for their love and for the survival of everyone was far from over, and the new threat was greater, more terrible than they ever imagined. What will happen? Will Jason and Linda survive the colossal threat approaching? And what secrets does this new threat hold? Will their love be strong enough to face this new darkness? The answer in the next episode.